So by now you're probably used to me starting these videos in front of the old brick or red brick chimney. As you can see from the last video, we've got it all rendered now. Room's all plastered, bar a couple of bits in the corner. So now it's just a case of finishing a few bits off, and I'll show you those now. We've got that bit, and that bit of the wall to plaster. So that's probably something I'm not going to film. Possibly on a time lapse, we'll see how we go, but you can't get a good camera angle in there, so all you have is a view of my bum, which I don't think you want. Moving around the room, we've got a few things to do really, sort of final fix stuff. We got skirting boards I need to put in all around the room. By these cupboards, I'm then going to have to build some timber frames inside there, ready to take the doors, and then obviously some architrave around the outside just to tidy it off, and that goes for that opening, we got that opening and that opening. Also looking around the room, you can see my holes for all my sockets, so I need to get some dry lining boxes, fit all of those in place. The other thing I've got to do are these hip rafters. I'm going to just make a bit of a feature of these, so all I'm intending to do is just sand them back nice and smooth. I'm going to take off the sharp edges, just I don't know, either a hand plane, I don't want to take too much off, or just sand it back into a nice curve. And one last thing as well I almost forgot is the windowsills. Windowsill there, and then like a large sort of windowsill on there. Not quite sure how I'm going to do this one yet. I've just put some frame around my holes here where I'm going to have doors. Now don't panic, well you won't panic, but it's my loft, so why would you panic? But the gap there, that's just where I've had to space it, because where the vertical, the studs were behind there, the odd one was slightly out, it wasn't bang on vertical, which is work we did a long time ago putting those in. So it's what I've had to do is just space it out, because obviously over here we're going to have some architrave, so that's going to be covered up anyway. So that's screwed nice and tight now into the timber anyway. So I've done that with that one as well. The cupboard over on the end, I've got to do something slightly different with that. The architrave is going right across the top, so I've got to put a little bit of timber in, architrave, and then that'll be all the way around just like the others. I've done exactly the same on these now, there and there. Then I had a nice little tidy up, got rid of a bit of mess. This timber here, I just wanted that on the end because it's a bit more durable than having plasterboard really, and it allowed me to finish it off nicely. Then I could just put some architrave up to this side then, covering that gap, so bring it out to the end. And then if you look over here, I had a tiny bit of plaster left, and I was just going to get a new bag of plaster. Obviously with this lockdown, plaster is still scarce. I can't see why, but there we go, because it's September now and it's hard to get hold of. I had a tiny bit, so I thought I'd give it a go, but it's about 2 months out of date, and I managed to get that bit on the wall, but it went off in about, I would say, 3 or 4 minutes. It was frightening, and in the bucket it's just gone rock hard, so it's ruined my bucket. I've never actually seen plaster do that before, but then I haven't used plaster that old. It's really hot up here as well. And if you look, that was onto plasterboard, not onto another surface, so I managed to do that, but that's just a single coat. So what I did as it was going off was I tried to put it on a little bit thicker, and then I just sort of covered it with my sprayer, made sure it was nice and moist, and I sort of polished it off all at the same time. So I had to do that in about, I would say, 5 minutes. I got that coat on. The only problem with doing that is I wouldn't be surprised if I come up in the morning and find that it's cracked. There we go, that's all the plastering done inside the loft. I've still got a little bit to do underneath the stairs, but we'll do that in a later video. So I just finished off that side there, and we finished off that side. So the next thing for me to do is start fitting the architrave around these cupboard doors. I've got to put some around the door frame, and then I've got to do the skirting board. Now for this I'm using MDF architrave and skirting board. I've done this on the advice of my brother, Big POUSE. He fits it all the time for people and he said it's way better, and I'd have to agree from what I've seen. In my house I used pine and I tried to keep it all traditional, but they warp. Before you even put them on they warp, they expand, they contract, you get splits in them. And quite honestly, from what I've seen, even in my own house, you know, where it has moved over time and you notice little gaps coming apart. So I'm going for the MDF. It's extremely easy to work with. It doesn't tend to split or fray on the ends. And the other thing I'm going to do is use adhesive to stick this on. I'm not using any mechanical fixings. And the advantage that this is going to have for me is that because most of my walls are pretty flat anyway, it'll be quicker and you're not putting any mechanical fixings through. Now if you can use adhesive these days, they're so good, you don't really need the mechanical fixings as long as your wall allows you to do it. This particular MDF and architrave is 4.2 metres in length. I got these from Howdens. They're a bit of a pain to get in the car, but I did get them in, hanging out the back. Started opening up because I put the joint and the plasterboard on top of this bit each time. One or two of them got very like cracks, so I'm gonna have to go over those with a bit of filler before I paint the walls. So there we go, one of those things. But there's obviously a bit of movement and expansion in the timber by here. Anyway, back on with this. I've been marking roughly where I want the inside edge of my architrave to go. I want a little bit of this timber frame exposed all the way around, only about 5mm, and then sit this above it like that. That is what I'm doing, cutting a 45 on both sides of the architrave just by using the chop saw. Now what I've been doing is cutting the one on a 45, and to save turning the chop saw around on the other 45, I've just been flipping the timber over the other way, and then obviously if you do a cut on the back it gives you the other angle. The only downside to this, where you've got to be a bit careful, is when you're cutting from back to front, it does tend to, as you can see on there, take a little bit of the primer off and gives you a bit of a rougher edge. Whereas if you're cutting from the top, it doesn't need to cut on the front face. Now for me, it doesn't matter. This is primed MDF. I'm going over it in like a water-based gloss eventually anyway. And I'll probably have to fill a few little gaps here and there, so I'm really not bothered. Having said that, if you were doing this with like an oak veneer architrave or something like that, then you'd want to be a bit more careful and take a bit more time. The other thing to note is, if I had a really fancy chop saw, then probably that would make a difference. The problem with mine is it's a bit old. It's an Evolution one. Good enough for the job, but I've absolutely hammered it and used it for years, so it's not the most accurate. If you want to make sure that you've got a proper angle, it's worth maybe getting a little angle finder and putting that on the blade, because the scale on it with the numbers I don't think is bang on. Well, I know it's not bang on, it's always ever so slightly out, but like I said, I'm not too bothered, but that's how I'm doing it. So now I've cut this piece to size, I'll place that so that it's centered across the top like that. And I'm doing this a bit by eye. So all I'm going to do is put a little mark there, just draw the shape of the architrave like that. I'm going to do the same on the other side. Then I'm just going to get my measuring tape, I'm just going to measure from there down to the bottom, and then I'm going to cut my other two pieces. So once I've cut those to size, I'm just bringing them back here and put them into place, because sometimes you think you've got the measurements right, and when you put them up it's not quite right. So it's worth just placing them up to the wall and just seeing. You can make a few alterations there with the chop saw. It's so quick, you can just trim off a couple of mil if you need to. Now I've just got to fix them into place, and as I mentioned earlier, I'm not using mechanical fixings, or at least I don't intend to. I'm just using this no-nonsense x8 or x8 hybrid sealant, and although it's called a sealant, it's a hybrid, so it's a grab adhesive, it does lead sealant, silicone, just pretty much does everything. As long as you hold what you're doing in place for, I don't know, sort of 20-30 seconds, something like that. It won't move and it'll just stick itself to the wall. So the plan is to use this. If I come across any bits which need a little bit of extra fixing, I might pop a screw through, but I'm going to try avoiding doing that where possible, just to avoid filling over screw heads and that afterwards. If you look by here, I'm just going to do the architrave up to the slope of the ceiling, and to work out the angle I just always use my little adjustable bevel, and these are a bit of a must really when you're doing angles. You can pick these up for a few quid. This is quite simple. You just undo your screw, you take this piece out, you can hook this over one of your edges like I'll show you now, and then set up the angle and just tighten it off. You just see by here, for example, just push that up to the angle of the ceiling, make sure this timber piece is sat overhanging your piece of timber, tighten up your bevel like that, and hopefully you should have something that resembles the angle of your ceiling. You can use this and just apply this to the angle of your chop saw if you like. I'm actually going to put this on a little offcut I've got of the architrave. I'm going to cut it then on the chop saw quickly, offer the angle up, and then I'll go back and do the cut, just so it's a nice neat cut and I'm not wasting timber. I've got loads of little offcuts now over there, so it's always handy to utilise those, I find, because they're so short I'm not going to use them for anything. So if there's difficult angles you just want to make sure they're right, why not use it on those rather than be cutting down your expensive architrave and making mistakes. So there's my rough offcut. I'm just going to sit that into the bevel, bring that down so it all lines up nicely. I'm just going to draw a quick line on the back of that. So when you look at the chop saw, there's two ways you can do this now. We can offer this up first of all if we like. You put that against your guide bar there, your guide rail. Bring your chop saw down and turn this around until that lines up at the right angle. Okay? So there we go. That's one way to do it. And that's actually saying that it's bang on 30 degrees, but we'll see now. Now, if I put my piece of timber up to that now, you can also do like a dummy run across it, offer that blade up and see, and sometimes it doesn't always look in the right place. But that's what my bevel said, so I'm going to have a go at that now, and we can offer that up to the door frame and see if it works. Then we offer this up to the ceiling like that. You can see that's actually the perfect angle. The only thing I have noticed with this is where the ceiling slightly slopes down, if I put it absolutely flat you can see that gap. But it's consistent, so the angle of the timber is actually fine. What we've got to do is actually taper this angle slightly down to go with the slope of the ceiling. So when I lift that up there you can see that's perfect. But it's actually coming out off the bottom. So this angle's perfect, but actually we've got an angle going this way slightly, you know, and that's just down to my ceiling and my plastering, I guess. And to be honest, I'm being a bit fussy here because I'm showing you the general principle of how I'm doing this. Now in this particular loft, you know, I'm not doing a masterpiece. I'm just using MDF. It's going to be gloss, the ceiling's going to be white. So if you've got small gaps, use a good filler or a cork, fill it up, and we're going to be glossing over it anyway. You don't need to stress about things like that. Having said that, if you were using a timber finish, then you know, you don't want filler everywhere, it might be on show, and you want to try and do your best. And that's always the case, always do your best, but I mean if you get the odd small gap and you're using gloss, don't worry about it, just plug some filler in there and get on with it. So now I'm happy with the angle, I'm going to apply that to my length of architrave and I'm going to crack on. But that's pretty much what I've been doing all around the loft if I get any funny angles that aren't 45 or 90 degrees. So there we go. Switches, because when I got this architrave here you can see it's too wide basically, right? So it's going to overlap where my light switches go, and in here I'm going to put some dimmer switches and I turn them round so the switch is going to be lengthways basically, so all your dimmers are going to be one on top of each other going vertically. So I'm going to get the dry lining box now, feed these cables through it. You can see I just used the Wagos again. Just means I can feed these through one by one now through my dry lining box, and I can keep working on it without turning all the power off and interfering with downstairs in the household. So here's the dry lining box, and if anyone's interested, I haven't done a video on how to fit these and cut out the plasterboard to fit these into place. I'll put a link to that video on the screen now if you like. So click on that if you want to see how to do it. Obviously I've already cut the hole out here. And the other thing is as well, I'll put links to all the products that I use in all my videos down below in the description section. So if you see anything like these Wago connectors or the box and you think, oh, you just want to go and have a look and read about them, they're all below in the description section, so go and take a look at that, feel free. On these you can go through, either if it's round that way, which is standard obviously, you can go through the top, bottom or straight through the back. Can't go through the sides because you've got these clips, but generally speaking these are using a stud wall, so you can usually sort of manoeuvre cables around anyway, which isn't a problem. It'd help if I had a sharp knife, not a blunt one. So there we go, once you've got the rough shape you can kind of break that out. Go around it with a knife as well and just take off any sharp shards of plastic. You don't want those severing through your cables all the time, you'd be surprised. If you yank the cables around a bit, it can happen. You put a bit of sandpaper on there if you wanted, but that's fine. Just go around it sideways with a knife. I don't want the radio playing because YouTube will either block the sound in time or I'll end up paying royalties to someone probably. So for this I'm going to try and cut it out using my Makita LXT multi-tool, and this is a brilliant bit of kit. It's the modern one with a quick release top, so if you lift that up, pull it back with a bit of force, and then this bit here, just get hold of that, pull straight out. So there's no messing around with this. You just pop that in now, like that. I'm trying to do this whilst holding it to the camera. Get your other bit, wedge that back inside, pop that over, and that is it, that's back in place. And with these you can use then cheaper blades, with some of them where they go all the way round. There was that period where they started making the half round ones, so you could just loosen the nut, slide it into place, but now it doesn't matter with these quick release ones. Just whip the nut straight out in seconds, so I love that. Anyway, I'm going to try and cut this out now. So after using the multi-tool I had to get in with just an old rough chisel as well, just tap a few bits out. I think we're there, I'll have a look now. I didn't want to take too much out. I don't remember where I put the screws through the plasterboard either, so there we go. Do that and pull that back. Excellent, he's in place. So we are, after a lot of messing around, that's back in. I can put the switches back on now and then we can measure up the Architrave. X8 or ×8 hybrid sealant, and again I'm going to sort of dot and dab it on the back of these, push them into place. Again, I'm not using screws. If I need to use a screw to push it up a bit harder on one or two, I will, it's no problem. I'll countersink it and bury the head and we'll fill over it after. But I'm just trying to save some time with filling later. With the MDF it takes pretty well to a fairly straight wall, well actually a slightly curved wall as well. Go. I'm just going to squeeze that out, just like before, into big blobs, just slightly offset them, and I'll pop one like that. Just work my way along.